Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the Leadership Blend.
Yes.
With your host, Ricardo Rice, and my lead correspondent,
Simone Shereen.
Of course, y'all know how Derek is, so Derek will probably come running in the studio at any given moment, so it'll be fine. It's all good. We missed you guys, and we have a new home here at Thinking Out Loud Network at WadeWorksStudios. So shouts out to the new boss, Mr. Gary Wade. We're so thankful and so happy to be here. And as always, you know how we do it. We keep you informed, we keep it fun, and we let you know why you should care. So Simone, you know how we do it. So what's on the rundown?
So we're going to talk about impeachment first. That's been the word of the hour. What's going on with Trump's impeachment proceedings. We'll break down impeachment a little bit, make sure everybody knows exactly what that means, how that works. And we'll talk about 2020 because that's kind of the subject of what's going on right now. And the Democratic race we'll cover a little bit. And some news about Atlanta. Some good, some bad news about Atlanta. So there's been, unfortunately, a murder on Clark Atlanta's campus that I think we will want to cover a little bit. And then we'll get into more and more about Popeye's. I'm so tired of talking about Popeye's chicken.
I just want to say that I finally had a Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Oh, my God.
Kudos to me. I finally had one.
Were you holding out?
No, I was in the area. And I was with one of my friends, and he was like, well, he really wanted a Popeye's chicken sandwich. I was like, you know what? Cool. If it's not too busy, we'll go. Of course, the line was wrapped around the building. The inside was kind of full, but I will give it to the Popeyes. I don't know where it is. I want to give it a shout out for doing a good job. It's near Roswell. It's off Roswell Road, near something. No something line. But shouts out to them because they did a very good job. The line moved quickly. It was a good job. People did almost have accidents trying to park, but that has nothing to do with them. So shouts out to them. So the sandwich was not bad. I will say that. It was not bad. But I mean, it was a chicken sandwich. I don't know what kind of magic was supposed to happen.
Clearly to die for. People have died over this sandwich.
Literally.
I'm not going to. I'm a vegetarian, so I opt out. I opt out in perpetuity. But even independently of that, we can get to that a little bit more. There's a story that may discourage you from ever getting another chicken sandwich.
You keep trying to do that.
Every time
I like something, you try to disparage me from it. It's not going to work.
I'm trying to save you. Is what I'm trying to do. Okay, so we'll talk about Happy Veterans Day, everybody. By the way, I have a lot of veterans in my family actually, so I love Happy Veterans Day. I also learned it's Happy Singles Day. I'm married, so it doesn't apply. But apparently, this is a holiday that was created some years ago.
We talked about that.
Really happily married.
Shouts out to P because you know that's my homie. But yeah, you don't have to rub that in. We're fully aware of the fact that
Singles Day. Happy single people. I help you. Okay. So let's start with impeachment. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with impeachment. So again, impeachment. I'm going to give a quick parallel that kind of explains what it is overall. The impeachment proceedings are almost like criminal proceedings in the sense that the House are the body that can decide whether or not impeachment should occur. So they figure out, is there some crime? Is there some act of behavior that really kind of warrants impeachment? Then from there, it goes to the Senate, and the Senate is basically judge and jury. If there are 2/3 of the Senate, then the sentence becomes officially removal from office. But impeachment really just describes the proceedings. It doesn't describe what the punishment or the sentence could be. So it could be that Trump is removed from office. It could be that he can never ever run for office again. It really depends on what he's ultimately found, what he becomes found guilty for. And again, that will be up to the Senate later on. So what's going on right now is kind of the first round. There are hearings that the House is conducting. The House Judiciary Committee, the House Rules Committee, to determine if there's enough evidence to say that the president committed some high act of either treason or bribery, high crimes and misdemeanors. You may have heard that term being floated around. Those are the things that a president can be impeached for. Now, impeachment is very rare. Impeachment has very rarely happened in the presidential office, but technically, like federal judges can be impeached. So there's been 60 proceedings in U.S. history. 19 have actually gone through, and most of the time it's a federal judge. It's not necessarily the president. So in this particular situation, all the fuss is about one 30-minute phone call, essentially. That was the catalyst of this, that President Trump was on the phone with officials of Ukraine, the leader of Ukraine. We've given a lot of aid to Ukraine over the years, I think billions and billions of dollars. There was a bill to give another $391 million to Ukraine.
For what? What is the issue?
So this is foreign aid. The U.S. gives a lot of foreign aid, but this in particular was to Ukraine. So essentially, this bill was pretty much ready to go. The president put a halt on that and said, I want to talk to the leader first. So he talks to the leader of Ukraine, and what he essentially says is, the U.S. has been very good to you. Very, very good to you. And it has not been reciprocated. which is essentially implying like what's good. And so he starts to bring up a situation that he wants Ukraine to look into for him. Now, the situation is that Joe Biden's son, Hunter, had a cushy job some years ago working for a really big gas company that was owned by Ukraine. This company was accused of like embezzling money, fraud, lots of different sorts of things, and even the British government was actually investigating them. But Biden held a job there. It wasn't necessarily like a leader of this company. Doesn't mean he was involved, but he did have a paid position at this company that was ultimately accused of doing some really bad things. And when Biden was in office as former vice president, he actually did put an end to this company, and he took a lot of credit for putting an end to that company and said, "Listen, we're not giving you another dime until you shut down that company," and it worked. President Trump basically said that, you know what, I have a feeling that Biden doing that had nothing to do with corruption, had everything to do with him trying to spare his son's reputation. So I want you to just look into what really motivated former President Biden to shut that down. That's what he asked his leader to do. So this would have been during the Obama administration, so prior to 2016. I don't know if it was the first term or the second term. No, in fact, 2014 is when it was. So the second term. So he essentially asked, he said, literally, I need you to do me a favor. And then a week after that favor was either in progress or agreed to, the money was released. So basically that one favor, and we got to also consider that Biden is number one right now in the polls. Mm-hmm. So this is July phone call, July 25th, Biden was number one. He was considered, even he was polling across polls as being able to beat Trump at the time. So Trump asking for a favor to look into something that his future opponent, may have done wrong is definitely a political favor. And that's what spurred all these conversations about impeachment and about him abusing his office for that purpose. So that's why we're here. We've talked about impeachment for a long time. I think we've been talking about it as long as Nancy Pelosi's been talking about it.
I still believe that, there's just not enough time left to get this done. Everybody knows where I stand. There's still about 102 candidates still hanging on for this Democratic nomination. And I can say how I feel definitively. So at this point, I'm not even vested in the Democratic candidates because there's too many of them. We keep bouncing back and forth between who's the top three, who's the top two. And the reality is, and I'm glad Double R isn't here in this moment because I would have to hear his mouth. But the reality is, I kind of have to agree with him. I don't know if anybody on this ticket can beat Trump. I just don't. People like Bernie, but Bernie having his heart attack has kind of put things in perspective. I mean, will the man die if he wins the next week? I mean,
I don't know. Another thing too to kind of consider here. Again, we talked about just the timing, or excuse me, the Senate. Because the Senate have to 2/3 agree to impeachment, which means that 20 Republicans would have to get on board with impeachment. There are, I think, 2 who officially come out and said that they believe that he should be impeached, right? There probably would have been much more a couple of years ago, but 20 is a big number. It's a fifth of the Senate.
Especially for them.
Yeah, not going to be easy. Unless some game-changing additional facts occur, essentially what would happen, because of the way this works, it would almost be like getting accused of something and then getting it found not guilty. Like it wouldn't move forward. It would almost be like a case being dismissed before the prosecutor could say, like, you're formally arraigned. If the House goes through with what they go through with, they can decide he needs to be held to trial, and the Senate could just turn around and say, well, no, there's not enough here. So it ends up becoming, like people were saying, kind of like almost a statement. Like they're just making a statement, but you can't actually do this. Like you have to know.
Which is cute. That statement would have been cute 2 years ago. But y'all need to be getting ready, and by getting ready, narrow these idiots down to 2, at least 3.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at polls, so what were the polls saying about the candidates?
So the polls still have Biden at number 1. Biden's still polling around like between 25 and 33%, maybe like a third of the vote, which is pretty good. There is consistency in the polls, so Warren is number 2, pretty much across the board. Warren is number 2. Sanders is polling at number 3. Sometimes he's right behind her, other times there's some distance there. Number 4 is Pete Buttigieg, actually. Who we did not see. Little Mayor Pete. I didn't see that happening at all.
I don't know. Well, look. I keep trying to explain to people the power of the LGBTQ community. Like when they put their money behind you and you prove to them that you can do it, they propel you to where you want to be. So it's kind of one of those things which when you look at him on paper, he looks good on paper, despite that
being
kind
just
of
a
stuff.
Mayor. He's the only mayor, and everybody else is a senator.
Exactly. So the fact that he's run something on that level, it speaks a lot to me. But again, I don't know. We've talked about this in past shows. Having
even though he's just the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, not New York City, not Chicago, just the mayor.
But it's the principle.
Okay.
But again, I don't know if America is ready for a gay president. You know, because again, we're used to first ladies and the role
We're
things.
gonna have a first man.
And again, that changes things. You know, and then we have to think about diplomacy across the seas. You know, having two men, and you know, some of those other countries are not about that life. So I don't know if he. And then again, you've got to be able to spar with Trump, and I mean not even on a regular level, like name calling and just mud throwing.
Debauchery.
Yeah, I mean you really have, whoever is going to be that candidate has to be able to spar with him outside of professionalism. Like you got to be able to call names, you got to be able to go toe to toe. It's just you got to be able to tweet. I mean. I don't think any of them.
I think all the candidates can tweet.
I don't think and do are two different. I think the country has gotten to a place where whether you're for him or against him, you kind of wait to see what he's going to tweet, whether it be dumb or just whatever. We've gotten so accustomed to him doing it. So whoever takes his place, unfortunately, I think that may have become a prerequisite for being president now. You got to be able to.
I'm going to defect and just be in that camp that I really pray that the next administration becomes boring. I want politics to become boring again. I want it to become boring. I want it to become dull. I don't want it to become this sort of who can hit lower, who can outlow the next. I'm praying
I
for
would
that.
love for that to be the case. Unfortunately, I think that the mold has been broken. And I think that it's become, even though it's only going to be 4 years of it, I think that 4 years in the popcorn microwave generation that we live in, I think it might be carved out.
I don't think it's coming fast enough. And it's hard to take a lot of people seriously because this was talk in 2020 that there were all these people running for president, and then they didn't run. Mark Cuban, very disappointed. Dwayne Johnson, very disappointed.
Because
all these
they
people
started doing the math,
were talking about
and they were
running,
like,
and
I don't
want to
do that because that's
Kanye
not
West. So now that Kanye's saying he'll run in 2020, I don't believe you. You didn't run in 2020. You said you're going to run in 2020. It's just...
You make it sound like you want him to run.
I would love for him to run. I would love for anybody. I would love for your neighbor, my mother. I would love for anybody to run if they're going to be president.
You do realize that we want this to be better.
Yeah. And I don't think it'll take much. I truly do not.
Kanye West is liable to decide tomorrow that he want to go fly fishing and leave the White House. I mean... I love Kanye, but I don't think he's stable. I just really don't.
At least he's a Christian.
And is he?
Yes, he is.
You sure it's not just for this week? You sure it's not just for this week?
We're not going to go there.
Because you know he loves to change. 2 years ago, the man was sitting across from Trump with a Magna hat on, telling let's make America great.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he believes that Jesus is the Messiah. He's walking on water. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can actually believe both.
He does fast.
You can actually believe both.
I don't think he does though. I think he does fast.
But that said, he does have bipolar, and you kind of calling him a flip-flop, you're almost bordering on discrimination.
Wait. Is he diagnosed bipolar?
I believe he was diagnosed bipolar officially. No, I believe he was officially diagnosed bipolar.
I want to see the paperwork.
I think he was. Now, anyway, that's a whole other... We could get on that.
I'm just saying, I want to see the paperwork. I want to see the paperwork because people have been self-diagnosing themselves, and sometimes it's an excuse. You're just 2 shades crazy. You need to go sit down with a therapist.
Look, here's really quick, just to get back to this. There is a poll that actually came out on Vox that says that 65% of Americans believe that what Trump did was normal presidential behavior. 65% of Republicans.
Oh, I'm about to say it can't be the vast majority.
No. Okay. Say that what Trump did was normal presidential behavior. So if that's reflective at all of the Senate, chances are this impeachment is not going to go forward.
But he can be impeached in the House and not the Senate, right?
You can only be impeached, period, once. So it's a 2-part process. The House starts the process. The Senate, again, is like the jury and judge of that process. So it's almost like getting accused and not getting convicted if the House says yes, impeach, and the Senate does not decide to. The House kind of acts as like prosecutors in that sense. So, I think we got to push toward 2020. Get behind your people, give them energy. If you like Bill Weld, if you're libertarian,
Who?
Governor Bill Weld. Or if you're voting for Sanford on the Republican ticket against Joe, whatever it is, I just think it's time to focus on 2020. Probably put a lot more energy behind a campaign than you can in an impeachment proceeding. That's just my personal opinion. But if it makes you feel better to go forward with it, then Godspeed.
It's like pulling teeth.
It's tough.
I feel like we're wasting valuable time that we don't have, worrying about things that we cannot change at this point. It's just too much.
Another thing to think about too is that the people who jump around Trump to fall on the sword for him. Remember his last lawyer and everything that went on with everything that went on with the Russia investigation. He didn't end up becoming liable, even when it was 6 of his official campaign staff, his campaign officials, ended up becoming charged with federal crimes. 2 of his personal attorneys, his personal attorney that was the closest to him, and another member of his attorney staff ended up getting charged with federal crime. And now Rudy Giuliani one of many people responsible for all kinds of injustice in New York City, including Khalid Browder's ultimate suicide and death, and who Trump's personal lawyer pro bono, just for the heck of it, is talking about the fact that he requested this report. So he's now, his spokespeople have come out in the last, I think as of this morning, and said that he was one of the people who requested that report about Hunter and Joe Biden came from the president's mouth. So I think he's almost setting himself up to take responsibility for this if it goes any further. It'd be very hard to indict someone for something if somebody else claims that they gave them the idea and planted the seed. So I almost feel like he's setting himself up to say it was me, knowing that he's a private attorney, nothing can happen to him necessarily. Because again, he's in no official White House capacity, but already he's dealt with foreign governments. He formed his own consulting firm, I think over 20 years ago, and he's kind of used that to give paid speeches on behalf of the president. He's discussed things with Iranian dissent groups. He met with a politician from the Dominican Republic. Like, he's basically acting in a presidential capacity. He's met with at least 7 foreign leaders since he became Trump's pro bono lawyer, even though he's not a White House official, not a foreign official, not a diplomat.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Rudy Giuliani. He's met with at least 7 other. So he's a private actor, so he's not responsible he's not held to any of the government laws. His phone calls aren't being recorded and transcribed, but he's doing all the stuff for the president at the same time. So he's kind of positioned himself that way, and I think he may just fall on this impeachment sword if it goes.
Well, I mean, people have to remember that Trump is very strategic. He's not slow by any stretch of the imagination.
Where does he find these yes men? Where does he find these people that are like, I'm willing to go to jail? I'll go to jail.
Anybody that has a level of power that Trump does and can maneuver the system like Trump does, there will be a line of idiots who will line up because the reality is, I would rather fall on my sword at this level and know that you'll pay me back later versus just being somebody on the sidelines who never gets anywhere. You watch Scandal.
Going to jail?
You didn't learn anything from Olivia Pope?
I don't know if I go to jail for my mother. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, but if people can get your record expunged and you have that kind of power to do that kind of stuff, it doesn't really matter. And it's not like they're going to jail. They're going to jail. They're going to jail, which is the country spot.
I've heard it called Club Fed.
They're not going to jail. They're not going to jail. They're going to jail. There's a difference. So it's not like they're going to do hard time. They're going to be confined and they can't go to the country club. Confined in relative luxury? They can't go to the country club, but they're still getting 6 square meals a day, not 4, 6 square meals a day, gourmet cooked. I mean...
Gourmet, are you sure?
Look, I promise you. This is, what is it? This is white collar crime, is right? Is white. This is white collar crime where they just do this. This is not like the hard stuff where you running around the prison yard trying to get rid of big bubble. Getting shanked in the shower. This is not that.
Dang, that's
so I need you to never say that again because they're not going to jail. They're going to jail. There's a distinctive difference.
That's a dang shame.
I just need, like I said, for the president of the DNC at this point to walk into the next debate, which I think is going to be in Atlanta. I will go with you. We walk into there, we start pointing folks out and telling them to turn in their badges, get off the stage, and tell your supporters to back the top 3 polling at that time.
I would support that.
That's what we need to do at this time. All this waiting for them to do the right thing, clearly they're not going to do it.
No.
So somebody makes the decision for them.
Right.
You don't have the backing, the money, or the following. Get out.
Right.
We need to focus on we need to prep whoever's going to actually run against this clown.
Agreed.
Because there's not a lot of time left.
Agreed. And mind you, there's 6 people behind Harris, and I can only see that because they only show you the top 11. Harris is in 5th place, Kamala Harris, and she's polling at between 4% and 7%. So 5th place is as little as 4%. That's how low it is. So everyone who's behind that,
go home.
Really need to go and
go home.
Yeah.
We don't give honorable mentions. And when you're trying to get the presidential nominee, the Democrat nominee, we don't give honorable mentions. Thank you, but no thank you. We're good. America's going to pass on you. So you can go home. Corey, we talking about you, Corey. Thank you for playing, but we don't give honorable mentions, so good luck. Go run for some other office. We appreciate you.
Or something. Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
And do you want to move to another top story?
Yes, what's the next?
So before we talk about Clark Atlanta, which is a local story, there's a viral video that's been going on about a man who was arrested for eating a sandwich. That's caused a big stir. I don't know if you're familiar with this video. It was out of San Francisco, the Bay Area Rapid Transit or BART public transit system. This was what the officer was patrolling at the time. It was Saturday. And a black man was handcuffed. This is a video that, again, has gone viral, so if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. I'm reading a report from Newsweek right now. Essentially, he was told by this BART official that it was illegal under California state law to eat while within the transit system facilities. In the video, you can hear a woman recording and also him kind of saying, most people understand that it's illegal to eat on the train. You're not supposed to eat on the train. He was on the platform waiting for train, waiting to get to work, and the cop, asked to see his ID. The man's protesting that he was being singled out among all these people, like I'm eating a sandwich, you want to ask for my ID. The guy doesn't want to show him the ID. The officer gets increasingly upset, says that he's resisting, says it's illegal to eat, and arrests him. The man has earbuds in at the time, eventually he loses his sandwich, is not able to finish it. The officer just keeps saying, you're eating, you're in violation, and he ends up getting taken to jail. Stephen Foster is the gentleman's name, we've learned by now, says, I'm not going to jail, quote, I'm not going to jail for eating an effing sandwich. And the officer says, no, you're going to jail for resisting arrest. There's another viral video, this video shows officers then taking him away in handcuffs. So during the weekend, including right now, there's also eat-in protests that are going on where a whole bunch of demonstrators have brought sandwiches to BART's metro system.
What kind of sandwiches? Look, these intricate details have become important. Are these Popeye chicken sandwiches? Are they getting them from Chick-fil-A, McDonald's? Who we eating? Like
Joy Reid, MSNBC host, said we really need to address the over-policing of people of color. Mark Lamont Hill also came out and said the same thing. He said this is not about a sandwich. He said, quote, this is about black people being unsafe everywhere we go. Whether we're sleeping in an open area or we're eating a sandwich, that we're liable to be arrested. So that's what they said this was about. And I definitely tend to agree. It just kind of feels like out of all the things, this is a gentleman saying that the man went straight towards him, made a beeline towards him, walking past people who were drinking coffee, white men who were eating bagels and their muffins, and came straight towards me and asked for my identification.
Do they have a picture of him?
Yeah, there's videos and pictures.
I want to see what he looks like. What does he look like?
Okay, while I find that, can you explain why that matters?
Because I feel like there's always been a stigma on certain types of black folks, which there shouldn't be, but there just tends to be. For one, I know that African American men with dreads tend to be, I don't know, he looks, I don't want to say normal, but he looks like the average person. So that's.
So, but just so everyone who's listening, can you explain why you're asking? I'm still confused as to why it matters.
Well, no, it doesn't. But I don't know. There's a certain stigma that goes with certain types of looks, especially as it pertains to African American men. It's never been fair, and it's never going to be fair. But for some reason, I don't know. They gravitate to guys that have dreads. They seem to be at the top of the list. They tend to gravitate to them because I think the connotation is the whole Bob Marley thing that they smoke weed, so it's an easy prey. They're one. I don't know, the color of your skin, darker skinned men. I'm starting to wonder if guys with beards, dark skinned guys with beards, are becoming racially profiled. I don't know, I just feel like the more rugged you look, the more intimidated they tend to be.
It happened to Senator Tim Scott. He was talking about this, I think, earlier this year, and he made a statement. He's one of the only black, is he the only black Republican in office? He's been a senator in South Carolina for a long time. But no, my point, he was pulled by police officers. He's been a senator for a long time. He still gets stopped leaving the White House and coming out of the White House on almost a regular basis. He's been a senator for a very long time.
He's stupid. We're not going to play that
game. And he's what I was going to say was he's not bearded. It wouldn't matter. But he's not bearded. He doesn't have any hair. He's I guess a perfectly non-threatening looking African American.
So he should get stopped for that.
He should get stopped for that.
Yeah,
police hassle
Republicans. Why are you Republican, bro?
I know black people who put MAGA on their cars just to avoid police. Like who literally, I was telling my friend about this. She was going on a road trip, going through some small towns, and she said, "Man, I was like, I don't know about this. I don't feel safe. It took a lot of convincing to get me to go." And she said somebody told her to put a MAGA bumper sticker on her car, and that she would feel safer in small towns going through. And that's exactly what she did.
And it worked.
It didn't sound stupid to me. It sounded like the.
Well, y'all are the one. Black females aren't the ones that are having the bulk of the issues.
Oh, we get killed.
Yeah, but y'all are having the bulk of the issues. It's black males. So,
and she has a son and a husband as well. So maybe she figured it was the best thing to do. But I guess so. This is just one of many examples. There's plenty of examples of this. And I think the sleeping video is a really great video as well, just because it was about. And we've seen like barbecue Becky, and we heard about the lemonade stands and stuff like that. This situation. I think it's a little bit different only because the cop was he was so completely insistent. This guy, even though he didn't want to show his ID, and he was like, why do I have to show my ID? Legally, depending on whether or not you have to show your ID, depends on where you are. If you're operating a vehicle, I'm pretty sure in every state, you do have to show your ID. If you are the passenger of a vehicle, I think in Georgia you do as well. It really, really depends. Go to knowyourrights.org because that'll actually tell you what you have to do and what you don't have to do. But when we have these conversations with our family members, we always say the same thing. We always have one rule, which is just make sure you make it home. Whatever you have to do, just make sure you make it home and just kind of comply. Did you see American Son? Because this just came out, and it's like so crazy timely, the fact that it just came out. You love Kerry Washington.
I do, but I love her in Scandal. I don't know about this one. There are certain things I just really don't deem to watch.
Why, Ricardo? Why?
You be mad because I have still yet to watch. What's that other one that was big?
No.
Yeah,
When They See Us?
Yes, I have not, because people kept saying how touching it was. I have to be in a headspace to watch sometimes movies.
Why?
Because I don't like the WadeWorks. Despite what people think, I'm a bag of emotions at times, depending on what I'm watching. And when people warn me
You're
about,
supposed to be emotional when you watch it.
No, I don't need that. Like this, sometimes you have to fight. You don't have time to be sitting on sidelines, licking your wounds and crying. And for me, I have to be in a headspace to watch a certain thing, and that's just not on the top of my radar. And the Kerry Washington movie, when I turn on Netflix, it's the first thing that pops up, and I go past the She-Ra. I'd rather watch cartoons and be happy. I don't want to be happy, so I watch cartoons because it makes me happy.
Not bury your head in these
Which
sand.
shouts out to Rick and Morty, which came back on last night. Woohoo! So yes, I did watch that over Housewives. But
I'm going to give a quick overview of this and I wish WR was here to talk. Well, he may be wrong about it. So American Son, was. I was only hesitant to. It was hard for me to get through. It wasn't. I don't think it's necessarily as emotional as other things. It was probably much softer than When They See Us or than the Khalid Browder story, Lord knows, which is still on Netflix, and you really need to watch that.
I'm not watching it.
You really need to watch that. It's one of the worst cases of injustice.
Anything you tell me I need to watch, I'm not going to watch.
But American Son was different because it was a story, right? It's not a documentary about a real life situation, so there's some cushion there if you're just worried it's going to be too real for you. Technically, not real. In addition to that, Kerry Washington, so she's the main character. The whole scene takes place with her being at the precinct, waiting for answers about what's going on with her child who never came home, her son, who's biracial. Her Caucasian ex-husband shows up at some point. Looks like he's leaving the office in his shirt and his slacks and trying to figure out what's going on and, trying to use his white card to talk to the other officers at first. But then they just get into it and have a lot of deep dialogue. So the whole thing it's about a lot. It's about white attitudes towards black people. It's about interracial relationships between white and black people and the disconnect about color and just people who can innately understand, people who cannot understand. There's a lot about stereotypes and what we look like. And he goes into the fact that, since he left the house, that his son has been going through some things and been troubled by it. That his son started, I guess, dressing different or growing out his hair, hanging out with different people. That his father's like I didn't approve of any of this stuff. I forgot his name. Scott? Some
probably Bill.
His
name was probably Bill.
No, some name like that. I can't remember. No, her husband in American Son.
That's what I'm saying. His name's probably Bill.
Probably Scott. Or Dave or whatever. But the point is, he just can't believe what's going on with their son. He even makes a comment at one point that I let you pick his name. I let you call him Jamal, which I did not want. He said that's probably the blackest name you could have picked. And I let you call him Jamal. Really is. But anyway, it's a really good movie. It's not as emotional. It's really kind of just like putting everything that's been a part of these headlines and these cases and these names we keep hearing about, all those issues, is kind of throwing them into one pot. And it's a really good performance, and Kerry Washington's great. So definitely think it's worth a shot. But yeah, Stephen Foster, I don't know what his current status is. I don't believe he's been released from custody because that wasn't what Newsweek reported this morning, but just gotta be careful where you eat your sandwiches, I guess. I think that's the only moral of the story. I mean, there's no other moral of that story.
Well, since you're talking about sandwiches, didn't you say there was something about Popeyes and a rat?
Yes. So, fortunately,
I just a disclaimer. It's probably not gonna stop anybody from eating them, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna stop anybody.
I don't have a weak stomach. I truly don't. My wife does. I can usually eat whatever I'm eating and be totally unbothered by whatever I see. But the photo that I saw of this, of this rat head turned my stomach.
Now, does it look like a photoshopped photo?
It is not photoshopped. Do all kinds of stuff. It is not photoshopped. In fact, I can assure you, there was actually even a case in July that was very similar. So basically, a New Jersey woman. Just to show you how national the problem is. This is in New Jersey. A woman.
You tried it.
A woman will never eat Popeyes again. Rosemary Thomas at Clifton Park on Saturday posted an unappetizing photo of a meal on Facebook saying it came from Popeyes, where her daughter, she was eating with her daughter and her niece. It was a rat head. She said this is clearly a rat, and they have the nerve to have a 5-star rating by the Department of Health. She has not responded to Huffington Post reported the story this morning. She said, quote, "My daughter ate nothing all day." Essentially, her daughter's traumatized. She says all she could think about was the rat head after she consumed the crispy part.
Now, is it, because I'm getting meticulous about these details.
Okay.
Was it a rat head or a mouse head? There's a difference.
Why?
Because a rat is a rat. Like a big sewer rat be running around in New York.
Inside. Rats are outside. So because this was inside, it was probably not a rat. It was probably a mouse.
Mice are small. Like they little, they go through houses and they stuff. So if you found a mouse head in your sandwich, it's probably not a big. She probably was.
But once you go outside, like I said, mouse can't be outside. So once you go outside, it is a rat. Rats are outside.
Mice can be outside. They don't last long. But
I learned this from 8 Mile. The rat is outside.
From who?
From 8 Mile from the film.
Really?
The mouse is inside.
You talking about the Eminem film?
Yes.
I don't think that's law. I don't think that's law.
Back in July, a woman named Sherry Luke in Louisiana reported seeing a rat inside of her chicken breast. Posted on Facebook. It was clearly, they tried to say it was something else. They tried to say it was some sort of organ meat, like maybe a chicken. It was clearly a rat, clearly a head, and there was also a tail in one of these photos. The woman says that she's been sick ever since. I'm sick. I know what I'm looking at. I know what's now this was the July case. But the most recent situation, this New Jersey situation over the weekend, is clearly a rat head. Couldn't be anything but a rat head. Let me see it. Would you eat it? Would you eat it?
I mean, with all the breading that's on those sandwiches, you probably would eat it and wouldn't know.
This is the one that was found recently. Now you're gonna tell me at the very bottom that that's not a rat head.
That looks doctor.
That's not a doctor.
Somebody, for those that have never worked in a restaurant, because I have, you have to drop this chicken in grease.
Yeah.
Somebody had to know.
Listen.
Somebody had to know when they drop this in grease that this is a rat head.
Popeyes has received over 91% more customers on a daily basis. Those people are so overloaded, they ain't looking for rats.
Yes, but
they was a rat head in the grease.
I'm not going to let you do this. What you cannot do is still grease. And the more weight you drop in grease, the more it pops. So they're not going to take a bucket of chicken and dump it into grease because they'll get burned.
This was just a head. It was probably light enough to pass.
My point is, no, it's not. That looks like a clear rat head. And if I saw it and I was trying to cook something, I would notice that that's a rat head.
See it. I'm telling you, these staff are overworked. They got these people working overtime.
And I'm telling you, if somebody has worked in the back,
Right.
That you can't miss that. That's an absolute rat head, and somebody should be fired because there's no way you can drop that in grease and even when you picking up the basket up and you shake the basket. You cannot tell me that you can't see that rat head fall out the basket.
Here's the thing.
No, I'm not done yet. Even when you go to dress the sandwich, you got to take it out with the tongs and put it on the bread. That's a lot of not looking.
Here's the thing.
Everybody on the fry line should be fired that day, and the grease dropper should be fired. You cannot tell me you didn't see that rat head.
Even if some employee got it in their mind to go home, get a rat head, procure it, and specifically put it on the sandwich, I'm glad they did it. And I'm very glad they did it because I'm sick of this foolishness. I'm sick of people getting killed over sandwiches. I'm sick of people taking us to the worst corners of white racist people's imaginations and acting like people. The Boondocks predicted this.
Oh my God! Are these really?
10 years ago, they predicted that this would happen, and it has happened.
If that's the case,
and you should be ashamed, people. Ashamed.
If that's the case,
MLK is rolling in his grave. Stokely Carmichael is rolling in his grave. We are messing up. So I hope that they find a rat, and I hope they shut down the entire operation. I truly do.
See, the problem with your ideology, and this is part of your light skin privilege. The problem with your ideology, I went there. Mm-hmm. So to say shut down the whole operation,
shut it down.
That's probably a lot of black folks gonna be out of work. That's that light skin privilege you got. I just wanted to point that out.
Listen.
What?
I believe in small business. I believe in entrepreneurship. I definitely don't want people out of work. What I do want people doing is not waiting 6 hours for a piece of meat that costs $6 that you can definitely take over.
So let me turn the tables on you. Let me turn the tables.
It's unnecessary. It's uncouth.
Let me turn the tables.
I don't want us doing it.
Let me turn the tables now. Have you been a slutty vegan?
I'm a vegetarian,
and yes, I have. Vegetarian.
Have I been to Slutty Vegan?
Yeah, Slutty Vegan.
No, I'd like to go, but no, I've not been. But I've heard there's lots of lines there too.
There lies my point, and a lot of black people.
But the second somebody gets shanked, they need to shut it down. The second somebody was killed over a Popeyes. The second somebody dies, they need to shut it down.
Well, you get the clientele. You know, the clientele that goes to Popeyes is probably more the
what? The murderous variety?
No, I'm just saying they're probably a little more urban, and and Popeyes in more urban areas, and you get into Slutty Vegan, which is it's. I don't go to... Shouts out to Pinky Cole, by the way. Interviewed her a couple weeks ago. Love her. She's amazing. I look forward to her being on the show. But Slutty Vegan, and I said this when I interviewed her, I was like, black folks tend not to eat well. So the fact that you can get African Americans to stand in line for 3 hours to get a vegan burger that's full of lettuce and tomato, kudos.
Yeah. I mean, and there are plenty of healthy spots. There's soul food vegetarian spots all over Atlanta, like several of them.
I have a problem with that.
It's good, but the point is, I want people to stop. Nobody should be in line for 3 hours for anything.
You
they just shouldn't do it.
They do it on Black Friday when they want TV from Walmart.
It's stupid. It's a consumer. It's ridiculous consumerism.
So you've never gone to Black Friday to get a TV?
No.
Well, I forgot who I'm talking to.
No. Listen, the few times that I have gone to a mall a couple of times especially when I was working there, but I was not going to wait around for hours to spend my money. I was not going to do that, especially on fast. Come on, people. Come on.
People have a craving.
There's other options.
People have a craving for a chicken sandwich.
It's worse than that. It's not just a craving. It's some sort. It's an itch.
So you're not at crack. You're trying to say people cracking.
I am. It's unacceptable.
Well,
don't let yourself get done like this and get played like this. So there was a video that me and my wife were debating about too. Real quick before we wrap, this McDonald's situation, and I don't have the full report in front of me, so forgive me, but I'm sure most people have seen this woman get blendered.
Oh yeah, that was
the see, you just cracked up.
That was something. I don't know how we got there, but
she was waiting in line. She was impatient, and she decided that she was going to resort to assault.
No, she wasn't waiting in line. I saw the video. She wasn't in line. She came back. She came back in. I think she went through drive-through. Came back in to go at it about her food, and I guess the manager got sick of it. So in an attempt to not have to deal with her directly, he threw a blender from the line.
Yeah, so it was a female, actually, and she was in the back with the main manager counting change, and there was a woman in the front who she could just hear was getting increasingly unruly. The general manager said, "Can you just go deal with that?" She went up to deal with that. The woman she could not be dealt with. And so the woman began to throw things at her. She was shouting obscenities constantly. This was in Coleraine Township, Ohio. This was last month. Basically, Brittany Price is the woman's name, we've learned, made a quick stop at a drive-thru, showed her Happy Meals for her kids. The order was messed up. The woman came back in. She was irate. She was furious. She was waiting for her order to be corrected, and she got incredibly frustrated. She says now that plenty of people were frustrated. It was not just her, but you could see this woman in the video picking up ketchup packets over the counter and chucking it at the employee, and picking up apple slices and chucking them at the employee. And I guess the employee, she did attempt to turn around. She got up, turned around. I guess she felt one more apple slice hit the back of her head and decided that she'd had enough. And she picked up a blender, chucked it perfectly, hit the woman dead in her face.
I mean, literally. I had to watch it 3 times. I was like, is that a blender?
And
oh my God.
The woman tried to get back up, could not get back up. She had a shattered cheekbone and a broken nose. She's had surgery since this happened. And now she's complaining the woman did lose her job, which she actually came out, this employee, and said she loved her job. She regrets that she no longer has her job. She regrets that she picked up a blender. I believe she probably just picked up whatever she saw. And people can only be hit so many times with apple slices. I'm not going to pick up apple slices and hit you. I'm going to hit you with whatever I can find.
This is one of those moments where I seriously wonder, what are people thinking? It's one thing for you to throw some ketchup packets at me, maybe some apple slices that are probably in a little packet because I have kids, so
Imagine how cute she would be.
For you to consciously pick up a blender.
Yeah.
And that's not my first instinct.
She must have played.
That's not my first instinct. I worked at McDonald's. So my first instinct would be to maybe pick up a handful of bags and just throw the bags so then they'll spray everywhere. Or maybe the thing that holds the sauces, I may throw that. But to throw a blender.
She picked up a blender.
I gotta unplug it.
She was gonna put an end to this right now.
I have to take the blender, pull it out the wall, and then chuck it over the counter.
Remember, they're closing. I think they're closing down. She's counting change in the back. So the blender I think she picked up whatever was freely available to her. And now, mind you, this woman threw more than one thing. She was acting ugly.
These are light things.
Ugly.
These are light things.
So it's okay to lightly assault somebody?
You shouldn't be assaulting people at all. But I'm not going to. I think she took it to the extreme when you throw a blender and hit somebody in the face with a blender.
And she may not have been. The woman maybe she just got aim. She just had that aim.
But I'm not going to. A blender is heavy. I'm not going to pick up a blender because as I lift it, I'm like, this is kind of heavy. This might do some real damage. Let me get a little light. And then I'm scared of jail.
Who thinks like that?
I do.
If you're upset,
so you telling me you would grab a blender?
I know. I'm telling you, I grab whatever. That's just the mind. You just grab whatever.
But your mind should change when you pick up a heavy blender and go, I'm gonna throw this.
By then it's left my grasp.
No,
by then it's already on its way.
I'm scared of jail. I'm scared of jail. So anything's gonna leave a mark, I'm not throwing.
Here's the thing. I'm not thinking like that if somebody is degrading me the way that this customer was degrading that woman from the other end of the counter. Like, she just looked like, for you to even comport yourself that way. And the thing, she was getting kids' meals, right? So now your kids are seeing how you act like that. So now they're getting that impression that it's okay to speak to people like that just because you're waiting.
They probably were in the car.
It was repulsive. And so I think that it could have been a great teachable moment for her. Treat people with respect. Quit acting out of character and letting yourself commit felonies, essentially, and assaulting people over a damn Happy
Now,
Meal.
let me make this distinction. I am not by any stretch of the imagination saying this lady's right. I'm just saying you cannot throw a blender over the counter at McDonald's.
I think you're going to learn. She's going to learn today. That's how I feel. I think the woman lost her job, which is incredibly unfortunate, and she's going to have to... I think that's punishment enough.
I think she should have made her go to anger management class. That's some serious anger to throw a blender.
Which one is going to anger management?
Actually, both of them. Nah. But I'm just saying that's some serious anger to throw a blender. Like, I'm concerned. I can make some other connotations on that, but I won't speculate. But that's the problem. But on that note, I'm going to segue because this is becoming a thing. So apparently at Popeyes, there was I'm pretty sure she was Caucasian, standing on one side of the counter, and she was going at it with the register guy, who was probably about a good 200 pounds, light skin, whatever. I don't know how it started, but they started going at it. Mm-hmm. And I guess the N-word was used, and before you know it, there was a whole gang of the Popeyes staff at the front yelling and going back and forth with this woman. And I thought that's where it ended, but apparently that's not where it ended, because there was a continuation video where they met the lady outside in the parking lot. The guy takes her up and body slams her on the concrete and is still yelling at her. And I'm just like, okay, how far is too far? Like, how far is too far?
The white woman was body slammed. I'm just trying to figure out exactly. So this is in Columbia, Tennessee. I'm just trying to figure out where it takes these sorts of things take place.
Yeah, I saw the video. I can't remember. I'm sure you.
She did reportedly call the employers N-words.
Yeah, they
and she was then
showed
called
that
to the
part.
parking lot. What a bold Becky. What a bold.
Yeah,
Becky.
she wasn't taken down.
29 years old. The attacker was 29 years old.
Yeah, he was a young guy. I mean, he literally it's about a good 6 of the employees in the parking lot, and they're yelling back and forth at her, and then he just walks out, literally picks her up and body slams her on the concrete in the parking lot. And I'm just like, okay, how far is too far?
So this woman was a 55-year-old grandmother, I suppose.
Yeah, she looked older. But I'm like, how far is too far?
Old enough to use that word?
Well, you got to remember her generation.
55 is old.
I mean, for her generation, that's...
It's not 75, not 85. It's
for
55.
her generation, that's
I don't know.
Their go-to. So that's kind of...
Why was she at Popeyes with all the N-words?
I don't know why she was at Popeye, because there was a whole bunch of Takims and Riri's up at the counter. So I was like, what neck of the woods are you in?
She was probably she sounded like she was looking for.
Maybe she thought she
was looking for a problem to me. She was lost. She got Alzheimer's.
Maybe she thought she was
55 is not old enough for me to feel, but so bad for that. Now, if she was an elderly woman and she was 90 and frail and half gone anyway,
I'm not saying,
I don't really feel too bad. You 55, you plenty competent. And
I'm not saying, but these are the kind of situations that if we're going to say police,
but at least that wasn't over the chicken. Now, I'm sorry.
Fighting
over the chicken,
I don't know what that was.
Fighting because somebody calls you a word that they had no business calling you, that's a little bit.
Well, it's not a fight, though, because she didn't hit them first. So it's not a fight.
She hit them with that word.
Yes, but
she did. That's what I'm saying. When you start stuff, don't start no stuff.
But
this is
where I draw the line.
Don't look shocked. Don't look shocked.
This is where I draw the line, because when we say, they need to stop killing us in the street, blah, blah, we cannot put ourselves in situations where we could be harmed. Now, if she called the police,
I'm not going to walk in an Irish pub and start calling people honkies and all kinds. I'm not going to do that and then be shocked.
But if they do it,
I'm not going to do it.
If you decide to go up in there and start name call, the likelihood of them hitting you is not very high because they're going to think about it first.
Oh, I think
they'll go back and forth word for word with you.
It's high.
But no, they're not going to hit you, or they're going to do, figure out some other way to do it.
Well, look, just quick little public service now, quick little PSA. If you play around, you will get hit. That's the problem. Nobody thinks they can be touched. Nobody thinks they can be touched. No, this woman thought that she was going to McDonald's and she figured she's the customer, so she thought the employee could not be touched. And she was wrong. You can be touched. I don't care who you are. You can get
fine.
Touched.
But the issue with that is, on the other side of that, if the police are called and you hit them first, that's all they're going to see. They start drawing guns and shooting. This is the part we got to think about. In that moment, that's cute to body rock her. In that moment. But if she had called the police and the police showed up and somebody recorded it, so I'm sure they would still been there, and they watched the video and they start drawing guns and people get shot, where do you stand on the side of the law? That's where my issue comes in. That's where my concern comes in. Y'all have got to stop being this impulsive, because what happens on the other side is the scary part. Police come, they start drawing guns, and they look at a video, and next thing you know, you in handcuffs, or worse, you got to stop doing this stuff. She called you the N-word. It's terrible. Okay.
I hear you.
But
I hear you. But at the same time, I feel like it's called, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
So now we're talking about carnivals.
Play stupid games.
Oh my God. Now we're talking about carnivals. I don't know how we got there.
It's unfortunate.
I don't know. All right. So on a side note, for all you individuals that love Airbnb, which I'm kind of nervous about. Yeah.
I love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know.
That's fun.
Airbnb is taking action after an investigation uncovered an intricate scam that allowed a person to put up phony listings and fake reviews on its sites. The company says it'll review each of its 7 million listings by December 2020 to vet the accuracy of photos, addresses, and listing details, as well as to inspect for standards such as cleanliness, safety, and home amenities. Just last week, 5 people were shot dead at a Halloween party in an Airbnb rental in Northern California, and the company says it's cracking down on unauthorized parties.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Now, and people that know me, I have a fear of Airbnb.
Is it
someplace like out of state? Now, if I'm in Atlanta, cool. I've never done one, but it's the ideology of me renting your house. If I'm renting your house, where you gonna be? That's my first question. If I'm renting a room in your house, where you gonna be?
They have other homes. Some people own multiple properties.
That's some people. Like that, those kind of things concern me. Like if I'm staying in a wing of your house, do you have kids? Do you have animals? Like these kind of things just make me nervous.
Well, I understand that, and I've only done it when I rent the entire house. Though you're not going to be in the other room or whatever. Like no, but I have done it a couple of times.
So my thing is, companies like Airbnb that grow substantially from a good concept, how much responsibility should they have to have already been doing this kind of stuff anyway? How has this been able to happen? Like, you have 7 million listings.
Yeah.
How is this? Is there not anybody that combs through these listings?
It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Facebook, I mean, these companies have these problems. They open up the doors to say, hey, come and make some money with us. There's going to be people who are trying to make money the wrong way. There's going to be people who are scamming.
That's fine, but stuff like this.
It's easy. It's probably really easily done. The same thing happens on Amazon. Amazon had to crack down because people would buy their own products and post their own reviews from different email accounts.
They still do that.
Well, okay, but
yeah, but you ain't hurt nobody doing that. I mean, that's not.
That's
terrible.
the idea, but it's fraud.
Yeah, but we talking about this level of fraud with people. I think it's actually one of my interns was telling us a story about how she did Airbnb and got a knock on the door, and it was the police telling that the Airbnb was not authorized, or that place was not authorized to do Airbnb.
Right.
How is this stuff
now
happening?
that is preventable. That Airbnb needs to work on. They got to make sure people aren't listing properties that there's clearly HOA. You're clearly not allowed to do that. It's going to take a little bit of work that they can't control. But in this situation, it's one thing that I know has come up and that I do think is worth being cautious about is that most people with these properties have cameras everywhere. And so somebody decides to leave cameras in the bathroom so they can check you out later, you know what I mean? That's the kind of, you may just have a peeper on your hand. But
which is gross.
I'm just saying that
people, I'm gonna tell you now.
People also want to protect
I'm
their
gonna tell
property.
the peepers now. You can get eye full because I'm a home nudist. I'm just saying, I'm a home nudist. You can get eye full.
People also want to protect their property, so they also want to know if you're bringing a dog in, but they have a no dog rule. They want to know if you're having a party when they said no more than 3 folks. People also want to keep an eye on their property.
Yeah, but how much is too much?
I don't know. My wife isn't comfortable with it. I'm not totally comfortable with the idea either, just because there could be cameras. There could be cameras I don't know about.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
it's just creepy.
But I love that people are doing it, you know what I mean? It's got to be very convenient. There's definitely times where it's hotels are sold out, so what you're going to do, you could make some money that way, but I don't think I'll ever do it again, personally. I just don't think I'll ever do it again. Hotels just provide too many conveniences. They come in the mint and the pillows, and it's too many conveniences for me not to,
And I'm on a hall with 20 to 25 other rooms.
Where I can complain about things.
Exactly. I don't have to, be sleeping with one eye open because I'm sitting on one wing of your house and I don't know where I hear footsteps down the hall and I know it's just me. I don't have to worry about those kind of things. It's just a lot more safer to be in a hotel for me. And it could be the old mindset because I am 40 now. It could be the old mindset. The thought of it is just a little bit, it's a bit much for me.
Both. Now, I do believe there's some gray Airbnbs.
I'm sure.
But especially the ones that are $10,000 a month or those ones, I'm sure those are really, really nice. But at the same time, I think it's great for you if you're the type of person that's I just want to feel like I'm at home. I don't want to feel like I'm
I don't either. I want to feel like I'm someplace
I don't want to cook nothing. I don't want to do that. I want to open up the mini bar. I'm not looking to have, all the home comforts.
That's the first place you went to was the mini bar.
Oh, yeah. First thing.
I'm concerned.
I'm
really concerned.
Okay. I hear you.
All right, so on another story, which I was quite concerned with this one when I saw this one.
Okay.
For the first time in nearly 2 decades, scientists have discovered a new strain of HIV. The virus that causes AIDS has different strains, and it has the ability to change and mutate over time. This is the first new strain identified since the guidelines of classifying subtypes was established in 2000. About 37 million people worldwide are living with this virus. Identifying a new strain provides a more complete map of how the virus evolves, says Dr. Anthony Foushai of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
I thought it had been a while since there was a big, major medical scare.
Well, I figured.
Because remember, they were back to back to back to back to back, and I feel like, you know what, it's been pretty safe ever since the big old measles outbreak, and I was like, it's been a long time. It's been at least 3 months.
Well, this is the thing that concerns me about all of this. It's like when we talked about the measles outbreak a little while ago. That was more than an outbreak because they were quarantining people in New York.
Oh, yeah.
So we're hot and heavy with stuff, and then all of a sudden it just disappears. Like you were at the point you were nervous about letting people out of New York because the measles outbreak was so serious, and then a month later we hear nothing.
There has been a Cobb County case reported for measles, by the way, as of this morning.
Well, there's been a lot of stuff circulating around Cobb County. Apparently, they were concerned about West Nile virus coming back from mosquitoes.
Sex trafficking.
Oh, God.
It's huge in Cobb County. Huge.
I don't.
They're wrapping people up. Basically, they're looking like missionaries, passing out Bibles, pretending to...
Really?
The most blasphemous thing I've ever heard of. Yes. They're roping people into the world of underground sex trafficking. Exactly what they're doing.
Well,
I
blame strippers.
Excuse me?
I blame strippers.
We're going to come back and we can have a different conversation about this. Because I'm not going to allow...
I'm just saying, sex sells. And when you have strippers over at Magic City...
So is it strippers or is it the customers?
I want to finish my thought, thank you.
I'm just...
When you have strippers over at Magic City making $1,000 or more a night... And I even thought about dropping like a thought a couple of times about somebody pool. They making $1,000 a night, if not more.
Pay all that for real.
Look, why you playing?
They really don't.
While you
now
playing.
Other things.
That was a story written by.
Other things do, but not stripping. Not since the '90s. You don't make that kind of money stripping. You got to do a lot more than that for some $1,000.
I'm trying to look. People go to strip club religiously from corporate people.
I told you I interview these women when I go to strip clubs. I ask them questions like that.
You never
they all say the exact same thing.
No,
you don't make that kind of money that way. There's doors where you can make that kind of money. There's
what strip
club
were you ever doing these
I have in the
alleged
Magic
interviews?
City. I have in the Magic City. But I also like the dives. Like, I also like going to places that I feel like a lot of people don't check out for strip.
So much about you every time we have these weird conversations. The places you hang out.
And they ain't making that kind of money no more. There ain't that much in it no more.
You sit there and kid yourself into believing that foolishness.
Listen,
I don't know what kind of sorry strippers
you have to do it all for $1,000. You don't have to do it all.
I don't know what kind of sorry strippers you were interviewing.
It's the economy.
But I'm telling you, they did a story on it. It was a legitimate story. Mine was AJC. And they were saying that strippers make over $1,000 a night. Now, if I didn't have morals, and if I wasn't scared somebody would take a picture of me sliding down somebody's pole. I'm saying for me. I'm saying for me. If I wasn't scared somebody would take a picture of me sliding down somebody's pole, I probably would do it because of the money. I'm just saying. But this sex trafficking thing, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I don't get.
They get money. You pay per girl. They use women as bait. That's what's become. And it's the kind of thing that I feel like you see in horror movies a lot, but it's an actual tactic that there's a woman on the side of the road, she has car trouble, oh, help me, or whatever. She just uses bait. And then before you know it, there's 6 dudes, you in the back of an unmarked van, and never heard from again. It's just how it happens.
I think that sounds so easy. I'm concerned.
It is. It clearly is. I want to talk about the Clark Atlanta story before we run out of too much time, though. So, Atlanta student was found dead. Police ended up finding a report that she filed about unwanted touching just days before she disappeared. She was found dead in a park. She described unwanted kissing and touching going on days before she went missing. The man she filed the report against now is one of 2 people that have been accused for her murder. She was 21 years old. Her name is Alexis Crawford. Vanished from her off-campus apartment over a week ago and was found dead in a park near DeKalb County. This was right before the weekend. The APD said that in a news release, she believes that Jordan Jones and Barron Brantley, who are also both 21, are the suspects, a boyfriend and girlfriend couple. Essentially, the girl was her roommate, and she had accused her roommate's boyfriend of making unwanted advances toward her. And actually, the boyfriend was booked on Friday. He had broken probation, and he was accused of trying to stop her from making emergency phone calls. So basically, they went through her call logs and also identified that she may have tried to call the police. This probably around the same time that she went missing, which means that maybe she stopped from calling the police. We can't really quite tell, but he's been booked into that jail 5 times in the past 2 years. It's a shame. She's 21 years old. It kind of sounds like something that's almost out of like Snapped. You know what I mean? Or like Oxygen, if you watch those stories where it's like there's a couple and they're really in love or whatever, and then he cheats, and all of a sudden it's like the girl's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to bury her because this is the only way we can fix this. We're gonna have to bury her.
I want to say something, but I know you can look at me very judgmental.
Go ahead. I'm judging already, so go ahead.
That's just. Well, that's good to know. I don't know, when you hear these kind of stories, it's usually just not us. So when you watch those storylines, it's not us that come up with that kind of stuff.
With that kind of logic.
Exactly. We don't. You know what? Look, Becky. We sick of Kendra, so we gonna. I want Kendra. So we're gonna bury Kendra. We don't really come up with those kinds of storylines. So it's kind of interesting that this happens. Like That's just
the mother's obviously heartbroken. The president of Clark Atlanta came out and sent a letter to the university wishing her condolences, of course, and expressing his remorse for her. There's counselors and stuff on campus that are provided, but it's like, man, it just sounds like you just can't be right. She filed the police report. You know, she probably all she figured that she could do, and then boom. That's a shame.
I don't know. I just feel like I guess my fear is now, you know, being my age and growing up in a world that was, I feel like we're in an alternate reality with the stuff that happens now. Because in my day, a lot of the stuff that happens now, we just couldn't fathom doing those kinds of things. The ideology of me going to school the next day and shooting up my classmates because, I don't know, one of them told me I was skinny. Like, the dichotomy of that being a thing now, I can't get there. Like, some of the things that's happening now, I'm just like, where are the gatekeepers? Like, there were just people in place that diffuse these kinds of situations, that derail these kinds of situations. I can't, you sit on the edge and you worry about what's next. And, you know, with having the twins, you know, I look at them and I'm just like, Jesus, y'all are 6 now, and look at what we're going through now, and imagine what it's going to be like when you turn 15. Like, we can't shield you from anything, because once we send you to school, it's free reign. Like, that's it. Once we send you to school, you know, we can't trust that the principal's going to do all they can, and I'm not saying they don't, but I'm just saying, most of the things that happen are out of their control. Like, little Timmy decides to come shoot up the class, he's 6. Where are you even getting a gun from? How do you know how to shoot a gun?
At home. Like,
and then you can't fault the parents like, well, I taught Timmy how to shoot a gun because, you know, we never know what's going to happen if he goes to class. So we taught him how to shoot a gun. We sent him to school.
You didn't know little dude was crazy. You didn't know that he was half off his rock. He was overly sensitive.
You know,
we've talked about this before, and I've said I think a million times that I do believe there has to be a stress test for people who have guns. I just don't think you should be able to. I don't think you should be able to carry a gun unless it is proven that you are not a high stress individual, an erratic individual. I think you should have to go through like I told you about that haunted house I went through, which was like an ultimate.
No, actually, you never told me. How was it?
It was the scariest 35 minutes of my life.
You were running from zombies. What
I was running, no, not just zombies, from little girls with creepy dolls, from women with knives, from a man with an actual chainsaw that could smell the sawdust coming off of it. They all chase you through that thing.
For those that don't know, what are you talking about?
I went to, so the house that I went to, I didn't go to Containment House. I ended up going out to Lithia Springs to a place called Fear of the Woods, which was, was 35 minutes long, and it was non-stop. There was a claustrophobia part where you had to like crawl through a mattress basically.
Oh no ma'am. No ma'am. I've been screaming
intense, but I'm so proud of there was like so you know how creepy, like all the creepy stuff you can think of. Some people are like, when you sleep, do you leave your closet door open?
I don't think about it.
Okay, well, some people don't do that because the clothes, like, as you can see them hanging at night, it can become kind of... So there was, like, a long hallway full of clothes, and it was just a black hallway, and you had to, like, walk through it. And obviously something jumps out.
I would have had a stroke.
It was awesome, but basically, we were talking about guns. I was saying, I think people need to be stress tested. And if they can go through that thing with a gun and they fire off one bullet, nope, you're too high strung, you can't have a gun.
You do
That's
realize
what I believe that we should do.
That is the most ludicrous thing you've ever said.
I think that people are too
So I'm in a haunted house,
yes.
and you give me a gun, and somebody jumps out at me.
If you fire even one round, you can have a gun.
Then nobody's going to have a gun.
You can't have a gun.
So you saying you could control yourself with a gun?
No, I wouldn't have it either. I definitely wouldn't have it either. I cried. I came out that thing. I was sweating and I was crying because the little thing... it wasn't the clown. What was it? It wasn't a clown. It was a dentist. The dentist. She made me sit in her chair. She had all these tools and scalpels. I was crying. I couldn't even help it.
Mind you, this is the foolishness she tried to get me to go to. My birthday
was only $20. It was awesome.
This is the foolishness she tried to get me to partake in. I was like, I looked at it and thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Because I barely got through Netherworld.
My wife wouldn't even leave the car because it starts before you even get there. We parked and there's like a long road. You walk up to the actual haunted house, but the creatures come out of the house and they walk up to like the thing. Mm-hmm. So the clown was trying to walk up to the parking area and she was like, I'm about to drive up the street and wait for you. She's like, I can't even wait in the car for you because the creatures hang out in the parking lot. So it was dope.
Beyond obscene.
Good job, Fear of the Woods. Great job.
This is foolishness. Absolute foolishness, and I refuse to partake in it. That's why I let you go on your own.
It was only $20. We still have time.
I'm about to lose my sanity for 35 minutes for $20. Like, man.
You feel so much stronger when you make it out. You really do. I really do. Like, that's why I'm so tempted to go
You're
back.
feeding me bullcrap right now that I'm not buying. I'm concerned. And you should be too. Because, yeah, you should be concerned too. That's really concerning. All right, so we're down to a minute. So, what is your final thought about...
Final thoughts going into next week. the debates are not going to be for a little while. I'm not going in person. I'm just not going to do that to myself, but I'm going to watch
But it's
them.
actually in Atlanta this time.
But yeah, I'm not going. I am going to, however, two things to be careful of. President Trump is supposed to be coming to Atlanta.
Again?
Yes, in the near future. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of Secret Service and all that stuff that's going on. But also keep watching the polls. I really want to see if Biden and Warren are able to make themselves clear front runners. You know, out of the Democrats, not a Democrat, but if there was one I wanted to pick, it would be Warren. So I'm watching her and I'm watching Biden. I think you just got to keep watching the polls over these next couple of days because I really feel like by the end of Thanksgiving, we're going to have a good idea. Because by then we'll be inside of a year for sure and we'll have cleared that hurdle. So I really think if they don't make it out as the two clear front runners in the next week, I don't know.
So you counting Kamala out?
Oh, yeah. I've been counting her out. But
I forgot you had that little debate.
Not voting for a prosecutor.
You just had that.
Not doing it.
Oh my God. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for tuning into our very first episode here on Thinking Out Loud Network.
Yay!
We're going to kill Double R later on. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next Monday, same time, same place, on the Leadership Lane with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.